Is one of those important days. There is an unbelievable injustice happening worldwide, and the number of innocent victims involved is absolutely terrifying. Your own daughters, your children could be lured into a sick and criminal world. There are 27 million people, many of them children, that are being traded for sex and for hard labor, all against their will. And you're probably thinking, what's this got to do with me? Let me tell you, the internet has become a fertile ground for luring runaways, kids that just want to make connections. Last year, slave traders made more money, get this, more money than the profits of Google, Nike, and Starbucks combined. More than $32 billion. And of the numbers of people sold for sex and labor, it's climbing. It's just going up and up and up. Don't assume someone else is going to handle this. Someone else is going to change this. Today, you're going to find out what you can do to make a difference. There is a new documentary film called Call Plus Response, featuring some of Hollywood's leading actresses who feel passionate about this problem. Take a look.
Trafficking of people is the fastest growing crime on the planet. You're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars.
Women are taken and gang raped into submission until they're completely broken, and then they're put into the brothels.
I went to Mumbai and I met these girls who were rescued from brothels.
And they turned around and told me, you cannot get out of this place ever because they've sold you and they've gone.
So the girls that they're using to buy in the forced sex trade are actually getting younger and younger and younger. They were 16, 15. They've been coming down to 7 and even age 3.
You can do yum yum and good? You're good?
The pimp sells them to a client who takes them to a hotel. They can be raped by up to 40 different men.
And you can do boom boom? Boom boom is okay?
And then they're taken back to the pimp who has their hymen sewn and sells them again.
There are more slaves in our world today than were extracted from Africa during 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade.
There are cartels and various groups of people who cooperate across borders to traffic people, and this has to stop.
The system is vast, it is ruthless, and it's lethal.
Well, one of the people speaking out to bring awareness to this issue is a woman you may know from the big screen. She's worked with several of Hollywood's leading men: Brad Pitt in Legends of the Fall, Sean Connery and Richard Gere in First Night, Harrison Ford and Greg Kinnear in Sabrina. She's Julia Ormond, and most recently, she played a mom in this summer's children's movie, Kit Kittredge, An American Girl. But today, Julia wants to talk about this issue of human trafficking and slavery as she has witnessed it firsthand. Please welcome a United Nations Goodwill Ambassador on this issue, Julia Ormond. How are you? Good to see you. Well, I'm glad you're here, but I'm sorry for the occasion. I'm sorry for the subject matter that we're talking about, because this is a tragic happening on our planet.
It absolutely is. But thank you for profiling it and helping us get the message out there.
What do we need to do to get people to be aware of what's going on?
Well, I think obviously this helps. I think part of it for me is when I entered this journey of looking into it, I wanted to come at it from finding out what the solutions are. For me, what I came away with was starting on the forced prostitution and ending up with this sick understanding that so many of the products that I buy are infected by slavery, predominantly in the developing world. And if I had to go through my wardrobe and take out the clothing that wasn't tainted by slavery, I'd be dressed in threats.
You talk about cell phones, clothing, even food items. I mean, the different industries where these children are stolen, kidnapped, sold into slavery, then forced to work for either little or nothing, and then we buy those products but may not know it. and I do want people outraged about this. What is the worst thing you have seen? What is the worst offense that you have seen in that area?
I was really horrified by what was going on in Cambodia. But I'll be really honest with you. I'm yet to meet a victim who hasn't gone through something that I don't know how they come through it, whether they've been held at gunpoint. Victim after victim, child after child who talks about seeing somebody beaten until they're killed. Girls who are electrocuted, drugged, chained, have batons forced down their throats in order to force them into forced prostitution. They really view people as commodities.
David Batstone from Not For Sale had this to say.
Let's say you buy 3 girls for $1,000 and you deploy them on the streets of Chicago or New York or Los Angeles. Over a period of a year, you are likely to make $240,000 off of those 3 girls. Tax-free, of course. Just using them 10 to 15 times a night, turning tricks every day. Of course, there's no off days. Imagine the profitability of that.
These 3 children, because they are children, can be purchased and then forced into this sex slavery, and it generates these people $250,000 a year out of these 3 children. I mean, if that's not just obscene, it's hard to wrap my mind around that.
The fact that you can take a human being and sell them and earn from them again and again and again and again means there's more profit to be made in this than the trafficking in weapons, the trafficking in drugs.
Human trafficking and child sex slavery is a worldwide problem. Now we're joined by filmmaker and musician Justin Dillon, who produced a new documentary, Call and Response. Now, Justin went undercover to reveal the problem that could be happening in your town.
A number of students have been, quote-unquote, mapping slavery in San Francisco. They would find massage parlors that were advertising hot new Asian girls weekly.
A year ago, we were here.
We decided to go undercover to see if these girls were actually there against their will, selling sex instead of massages. So we chose a parking garage right next to the massage parlor to suit up, get our mics going.
Like the wires you can tape into the shirt?
And then we would act like we were Johns from out of town. I want to throw up in my mouth. My biggest fear is always safety. You don't know who's in the back room. You don't know if there's another exit. And if they find that you have a camera, there could be trouble. The door opened up and the mommy-san began to parade young Asian girls in front of us in their underwear. The girls were very young and not from here.
It's been shut down since then. What was once a brothel is now a tanning salon.
You just had, I know you were expecting a problem when you went in, but you had to be stunned at what you saw, particularly when you're up close and personal to such young girls.
Absolutely. I think the most stunning piece of it is that it's happening in our financial districts. It's not just out in the rural areas or outside of our own lives. It's right in the center of what's happening here in our lives.
Yeah. I was listening in Call and Response when I watched the documentary, which, by the way, is excellent. I recommend that everybody see this because it will be a huge and needed wake-up call for all of us. I heard in there that there have been like 50 arrests in 10 years with so many people being trafficked. Why aren't these people being arrested? It's
so hard for law enforcement to identify a victim, largely because often victims can't identify themselves. There's footage you'll see in the film of how young kids, very, very young kids in Asia, for instance, will come up offering sexual services eagerly within a brothel circumstance. When the police raid them, they freak out, they're crying, they're hysterical because the trafficker has convinced them that he or she is their only way to survive. So when a policeman goes in, the kid is wary of them, the woman is wary of them. Traffickers are very violent and they will threaten to kill the person's family, to kill them. Even if they're behind bars, they can just lift up the phone and contact people.
Tell us about ASSET.
ASSET is the Alliance to Stop Slavery and End Trafficking. It's a non-governmental organization that I founded to support the UN mandate and the UN's ideas around how to stop slavery and trafficking at source. And what we focus on is enabling the corporation to protect their supply chain from being infiltrated by slavery. Go onto the site, click on a brand, sign onto a letter. We'll send the letters to the corporations to say, please do something about it, and we'll then take that process further.
Okay, so it's www.assetcampaign.org.
Yes.
Okay. Next, the story of a 16-year-old girl who was rescued by police after being held against her will as a sex slave, smuggled into Texas with the promise of love.
They would take my victim into this room. This is where they were making her perform as a sex slave.
Monday on an all-new Dr. Phil.
What would you do if you caught your husband cheating 8 times?
You catch him cheating and get pregnant the night you catch him. Does that seem strange to you?
Now,
You're still talking to the woman, right?
she's being driven to divorce.
Do you know he's having unprotected sex with her?
I didn't.
No.
Why lie now? You've been served, buddy. If your marriage is not all you want it to be, this show is for you. That's Monday.
I've never faced an enemy like cancer, but it's okay. I'm a fighter. Now I find out that Republican candidate for Congress Eric Paulson will let insurance companies make the rules, and they could even deny coverage for pre-existing conditions like cancer. He wants me to fight cancer and the insurance companies? Fine. I'll take you both on.
Ask Eric Paulson which side he's on. Healthcare for America Now is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Find free money at Furniture Outlets USA. That's right. Buy now and save $50, $100, even $200 off your entire purchase. Get a dining room table and 4 chairs. Was $4.99, now only $4.49. That's $50 in free money. Or get a gorgeous leather sofa. Was $9.99, now only $8.49 with $150 in free money. Hurry in and get your free money with savings of $50, $100, even $200 off your entire purchase. Hurry in. It's going on now, only at Furniture Outlets USA.
Trade in and gas up with your appliance specialist at Warner Stellian.
Get free gas when you purchase qualifying Frigidaire appliances. Replace your tired washer and dryer with a new energy-saving pair. Update your entire kitchen for only $17.99. You'll get the best bottom line price and pay no interest for 1 year. Plus, get free metro delivery, professional installation, and free recycling. Trade in and gas up now through October 13th.
An exclusive offer from your appliance specialist at Warner Stellian.
When I grow up, I want to be a veterinarian and a doctor. Doctors make a lot of money, but I won't ask for any money because I like animals. I like frogs, giraffes, hippos, chihuahuas. I got a lot of school ahead of me. School makes you smart, and I'm going to have a big brain. Organic chemistry, it's coming at me like a freight train.
I'm Ashwin Medea, and I approve this message. Washington is broken right now. You got people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, who have been there way too long. No one wants to make the hard choices in order to balance our budget, which is so important right now.
Ashwin Medea will work to get our economy moving again, restore strong oversight of our financial markets, balance the budget and pay down the debt, and invest in alternative energy to create new jobs. Ashwin Medea, a new direction for Congress.
The problem of human trafficking and sex slavery is happening right here in the U.S. It's happening in Washington, in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and in Phoenix. Recently, in Texas, police found a 16-year-old girl who was locked in a house and forced to sell herself 5 to 6 nights a week. And when she refused, they would lock her in a room and not feed her for days. Now, a detective from Jacinto Police Department says she was shocked to learn what was going on in her own small town.
This is the house where the 16-year-old was being held. Through the coordinates that we had from 911, we kind of pinpointed this house. We found out it was a sex slave case when I started interviewing her. She was smuggled to this country by the suspect, and he had promised love and marriage, and he had a fat wallet, a fancy SUV, and baited her into the United States. He brought her to this house right here. The suspect's mother immediately told him, "You've got to put her to work as a sex slave." She had to have sex for $75 a customer. I was very shocked to hear that this was happening in Jacinto City. These people are dangerous. This is the Club Guerrero right here. This is where they had my victim working as a sex slave. It's closed. They would take my victim into this room. This is where they were making her perform sex acts. The most shocking thing that she told me was that when she did not want to perform sex acts, she would get whipped and placed in a room with a padlock, and they wouldn't feed her for days. And I still feel teary-eyed when I think about her. There's no getting out of it unless you get rescued like this little girl.
Well, FBI Special Agent Maritza Conde Vasquez is here to discuss cases just like this one. Now, they're actually accessing some of these kids through Craigslist and getting into chat rooms, finding people all over the internet, right?
That's correct.
And that's what I want people to understand is our children are in these websites. They get lured, they get promised things, and then once they get their hands on them, then they can isolate and exploit them.
Yes, I summarize it as the traffickers is selling a dream. Whether if it's an illegal immigrant, they're selling the American dream. If it's domestic children, they're selling, you know, a good life, pricey clothes, a better lifestyle, because most of these kids on the domestic side are runaways.
Right.
Are neglected children, are often abused children, that they were not protected at home. They see in this trafficker their protector.
You were just in Houston, and we're talking about these cantinas, which are kind of legitimate-looking places from the street. What did you find down there?
It's another world. A dozen, maybe 20 girls.